Before we go anywhere else, Micah Parsons on McAfee. Listen to this.
Have you gone up to Big Mike yet and told him that you need to get some touches on the offensive side of the ball, maybe a couple tosses or something like that?
Big Mike actually let me get a couple scout team reps at tight end.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah, he might not let y'all know that. I probably shouldn't have spilled the tea.
Okay, Micah Parsons at tight end. Dominique, who's covering him?
Nobody. I mean, I think he can do about anything.
Golly. You can line him up in the slot.
I remember his rookie year, and they tried to isolate him in man coverage out on the edge, and that man played corner with footwork like a corner. And I was like, man, they built him like that now?
We've joked around about
rare
like, could LeBron James be a tight end in the NFL? Like Micah Parsons could be a tight end, right?
He can do whatever he wanted to be.
He's a quarterback for the Jets.
Greeny's like, Greeny's like, wait a minute now.
He can do it all, Greeny. He can do it all. I got a SWAGU walk-off.
Greeny legit thought about it. Like, I would like to see that.
What will we have to trade to get him?
Exactly.
Okay, fair enough. I'm in on trying it. Let's see what happens. All right, our next stop is Pittsburgh.
Marcus is walking to Pittsburgh right now.
Marcus is walking to Pittsburgh. We'll get... All right, to the Steelers we go. The Steeler defense scored more points than their offense on Monday Night Football. And the black and yellow faithful are getting restless. Mike Tomlin was asked about the fan frustration, and he answered as only Mike Tomlin could.
This is the sport entertainment business. It is our job to win and thus entertain them. And so, we don't begrudge them for that. We want them to be fat and sassy and spoiled. It is our job.
Ooh, it's the eyeballs. It's the eyeballs for me. Like, okay.
He's locked in.
The intensity, man. I mean, he missed his calling as an artist of some kind, because every question you ask him is the most important question he's ever been asked, and the answer is going to be so intense. It is quite scary. But I don't know what it means. Does that mean he wants to fire him? Does it mean he needs to score more points? I don't know.
Hey, Mike T.
It's sassy.
Mike T's telling
my fans fat and sassy.
He's telling Canada, hey, those people pay our bills.
Yeah,
we better get them happy, or you're gone and then I'm gone. We're going to make sure all of this gets squared away. He's letting them know.
It's a cold world out there.
It is.
I did not hear one endorsement.
Well, here's the reality of it. That Kenny Pickett was perfect, literally perfect in the preseason. And we all, and by we I mean me, got excited about it. And then Kmart, now they've played 2 games, and it looks like anything but.
The problem in Pittsburgh is that you don't know exactly who to blame. And unfortunately, it falls on Kenny Pickett and it falls on Matt Canada. I don't know what is not working there, but even last year, there were grumblings about offensive players not loving what they're doing, not loving the system, not feeling like, okay, we are maximizing, we're not having enough explosive plays. And now the season has started and you have high expectations for Kenny Pickett, and preseason Pickett is completely disintegrated. The Pickett presidential ticket that I was about to enjoy, I don't know what happened there.
I'm going to tell you what happened when you get done.
What happened?
Go ahead. No, tell me, Boo.
What happened?
Better players start showing up on the field. That's what happened.
Absolutely.
That's why that preseason
guys weren't on vacation.
But in fairness,
the corner out there makes $70 million as opposed to this corner that's going to play for somebody else when
playing for league minimum.
Yeah.
But I covered this team in Week 18 where they still had a small, but they still were alive. Their playoff hopes were alive. The Pickens and Pickett, they had a connection last year that we saw, and we thought they were going to go to the next level.
Me too.
And what we've seen, it just feels very disjointed.
Is it salvageable? Will this team be a team to reckon with at Thanksgiving of this year? Yes or no? Quickly, Marcus.
I can't. The offensive line, and Jeff can speak to that more. They got a big issue up there.
Ooh.
And I can never put playoff football associated with your team when you're
This is how many yards they had rushing the ball in the first half. One.
I mean,
what Steeler team with a great defense have you ever heard got one rush yard? And by the way, Kenny Pickett, expecting him to be like the savior of the team ain't going to happen either, right? Like, you got to protect him, you got to run, but you do got to take shots with Pickett. Yes. They have to figure that out, but it's ugly.
Your O-line is a little too fat and sassy.
Kmart, if I said this is going to be the only season for Russell Wilson and Sean Payton together in Denver, is that fact or fiction?
Rooney, I'm going to say fact.
Yeah.
want it to be fact, only because here, again, we talk about expectations, guys. The expectation isn't just that Russell Wilson will be a good quarterback. It is, we brought Russell Wilson here to win a Super Bowl, and it's going to take time. And I think you give him the year, but I don't see Sean Payton at the end of this year saying, yeah, this guy I can ride to the Super Bowl.
Why the face?
Because you remember a year ago how we felt about this.
Yes.
We all thought that this was a championship contender, and their defense has gotten worse. That was the strength of that team that was holding opponents to enough that all they needed to score was like 17 on offense. They couldn't do that. And yeah, it's just a far fall. And they bring in Sean Payton, and I convinced myself this offseason that Sean Payton was going to be the answer. And Russ looks better, but the point that you remind us is they want to win a championship.
Yeah, that's different.
And they don't seem close to that, losing to the Commanders.
It was a different approach, like the expectations. That's why you're struggling with the Jets, G. Because once you raise that level, it's hard to see that go as fast as it's gone. Like last year with Hackett and Rush, you could see that the marriage wasn't working. Sean Payton in his history with quarterbacks, although he had one of the greatest quarterbacks ever played in Drew Brees, you expected Russ, even at this point, to be a lot better. And I'm not piling on Russ. I think Russ is fine. But to your point, Foxy, fine ain't enough.
Yeah.
Like, they had big expectations.
Everybody got to pump the brakes at the desk right now. Listen, Sean Payton and Russell Wilson have been together like this long. All right? Give it a break, right? That's how long they've been together in the NFL world. Give them some time. If you look at Russell Wilson in the first half, when Sean Payton scripts between 15 and 20 plays and gets him, look at his numbers. Yeah. 85%. They've scored 35 points, I think, on their first 3 drives, and then 15. What's happening is you're seeing the second half. You can't predict how teams are going to adjust to him, but they will find. Sean Payton will find with Russell Wilson, hey, here's what and Russell has shown in the past, fourth quarters, he can make things happen. They just aren't in sync yet of where the ball needs to go, why it needs to go, where it needs to go, and neither are the rest of the players. I love to just put it on Russ, but everybody has to understand what their role is, and when you see Sean Payton's plan, it looks perfect. And as the game goes on, they're not as good. They will get to that in the latter part of the season.
Jeffrey, it is so good to have you back on this set. When you show that graphic, and then you show, look at Russ, he's cooking in the first half. And then the numbers suggest, and then the food is burnt. Like I look at that and I just say, well, I don't know what's happening here. Like that's not enough.
Defenses are making adjustments in an offense that he's not familiar with, and neither are the other guys. That's what happened. Is when defenses start changing and say, oh no, we're going to mix our coverage here. We're going to put this guy down. All of a sudden, Russ doesn't. They haven't had the conversation in the building. Hey, when you're going to get these 2 looks, you're going to go right or left. Here's where Russell Wilson's going to go. Those conversations haven't been.
How long
you have to have experience to get there.
How long do you think that takes?
Work right now.
It probably take 8 weeks.
Take about 8 weeks.
It takes about 8 weeks.
You think they can win in the midst of that, though?
Yeah, they can. But that's when the defense has got to step up. Other players got to make plays. Can you win? You got to find ways to win.
I'm scared with this defense. I ain't gonna lie.
I was just laughing because I felt like Jeff was having a coaching flashback.
For sure.
He did. They go changing stuff. I'm telling you, gotta move it. And then I'm telling you, you're not ready for it. Everybody not on the same
Everything looks good on the board, folks. Everything looks good on the board. I'm just letting you know it don't just work like that.
But no, I agree with you because that's what I was talking about. Like I thought. If you look at the film, and that's the great thing about, I'm not just trying to give people we watch film here. We watch it. We don't just get the highlights. We watch film. Russ looks fine.
Yes.
He looks fine. This defense, man, is not Denver defense that we know.
All right.
That's how I feel. Like I use the bathroom, but we can't stop.
Like,
man.
Like we see offenses every once in a while in the NFL get into like a zone where they just can't be stopped. And now, back in the days with Peyton and some of the really great offenses, you see it and you're like, there's nothing anybody can do to stop that. That's what this Dallas defense looks like for 2 weeks.
Yeah, and in a league where offense is so prominent,
absolutely,
like it's kind of a breath of fresh air that a defense is actually performing at this level and changing games. And 2, like Pittsburgh the other night. Creating turnovers and winning games. But when you think about this Dallas defense, they've been good. This is not new. Right? This defense has been good. But I think the way that it's being coupled with what Mike McCarthy is doing now, it's more of a whole team mindset. And I think that's what Micah is alluding to when he talks about it feels different. It felt disjointed. We always talked about Kellen Moore, Dak Prescott in the offense. And then we'll get to the defense and say they're good. Now, the real thing about the Dallas Cowboys, I think why a lot of people are optimistic as myself, because I usually try to be very patient on this team, is that this is sustainable football, the way that they're playing on both sides of the ball, and knowing that that defense can be dominant and offense won't put them in harm's way.
Yep.
Yeah, responding to what they see happening on the other side of the ball is important. And I think that previously you had the Kellen Moore situation, and I'll be the first to say I was wrong about it. And maybe it's premature to jump off of that, but I always think you score as many points as you can score.
Yep.
I want you to score 40. If you can score 40, it doesn't matter what we're doing on the other side. But I think it does matter. And I assume that Mike McCarthy will switch things up. If the defense has a bad half, guess what we're doing in the second half?
Accelerate.
We're going to have to go back to that old school and cut this thing loose.
Let's make clear what Dominique is talking about. It's a point that Marcus made in our first hour. It was a really good one. That Kellen Moore, well, I'll let you make it again, but that Kellen Moore's deficiency as an offensive play caller had nothing to do with how many points they were scoring.
It was just a lot of situational problems that I had. The game last year against Jacksonville, there was no need for Dallas to lose that game, but he wanted to continue to push the ball down the field. And, Jeff, you made a great point when we were not on camera. He's a former quarterback. So his mindset is let's get in the end zone every time we get the ball. Sometimes you got to play complementary football, and I think that's what McCarthy was talking about. Look at the Chargers game. This past weekend against the Tennessee Titans, this is overtime against the Titans. And look at the results of these plays. One, you throw in the double coverage. Ooh. The next play, you come back and you try to push the ball down the field once again, out of bounds. Now watch the third play.
Yeah.
The football goes out of bounds again. And Justin Herbert gonna catch smoke for this because people gonna say he needs to make plays and do all of that. That's horrible play calling and situational.
The week before, they had a tough situation where they're trying to take big shots down the field. They get sacked in back.
Yes, man.
So, yeah, I think you might be right. Maybe.
So it was never about the production because that's the battle I fought last year when people. Well, they the leading offense in the league. Man, football is so situational. Yep. These games come down to 3 or 4 decisions in moments that you need to make.
The analogy you made to me in a break was a great one. It's like a player's padding his stats with free throws. Go ahead, say it.
Yeah, at the end of the game, if you up, you're going to go to the free throw line and you're going to shoot 30 times because somebody put in there, you end up with 40 points, 20 of them on the free throw line. Right. Those buckets don't mean anything at that point. And I think that was the thing that people got confused about what Dallas offense was doing.
So if you take that and you sort of try and extrapolate it out to what it means what the Cowboys are doing is sustainable.
Yes.
It makes a little more sense. So, Jeff, why is it you're not willing to crown him? As the great
Jeff.
Dennis Green once said, you're not ready to crown him.
Because they beat the Giants and Jets, right? Well, the Jets with Zach Wilson. So, you're 2 games in the season. And by the way, in the NFC, there's a lot of really good football teams. San Francisco, in your own division, Philadelphia can absolutely light. And they started slow, but this is still a very good football. And you got to go beat that bully. Like, let's make sure we understand there are still situations when you match up with teams and the matchups don't work out great. So you're going to have to go find somebody who's going to have to go make a play. I love what Mike McCarthy is doing as a play caller because he is doing what Tom Moore did for Peyton Manning when I was with the Colts. He's allowing Dak Prescott to get to the line of scrimmage with 20-plus seconds to evaluate what the defense is going to do and put them in the best play. That's what's going to make this Dallas offense so much better. That's a smart QB who wants to put his team in the best position to win and doesn't always want to throw that deep ball. Sometimes a check down the pump with that defense works out well, right? Yes. So he's letting him play into his strengths, which is a very intelligent quarterback. I love what they're doing, but I ain't ready. You don't crown him in week 2, Greeny.
If you try and figure out, again, this is just a person who didn't coach it or play it, what makes the Cowboys look so good? They're so fast. Everything they're doing is so fast. What is the biggest problem you have with that? Is a bully. San Francisco, a bully. Philadelphia, a bully. Maul you on the line of scrimmage. Wear down your defense. Run the football on that side. Don't let the Cowboys run. Make them one-dimensional. Are those going to be the issues the Cowboys eventually have to show they can handle?
They're going to be matchup problems. They haven't had any matchup problems this week or the week prior. They had matchup advantages everywhere. Yeah. How they answer those matchup problems is going to test their coaching and their decision-making on the field. They haven't had those tests yet.
But here's the thing. I think the Cowboys have always had a very good roster. Preseason, I picked them to win the division because I felt like this is the best situation that Dak has been in. We didn't know about Mike McCarthy. So far, been impressed. If they can keep this going, defense travels. Like, we understood that Micah Parsons was going to improve because he's that guy. You talk about motor, what his own motivations are, his expectations for the guy thinks he can play quarterback, tight end, receiver, all that. They have all the components, and the fact that Mike McCarthy has shown that Dak can be comfortable, this offense can be flowing, that actually gives me way more confidence now.
Can I say this as well, but just because as we're talking about, like you think about Philadelphia and it's 2 weeks in, they lost 2 coordinators, man.
Right.
Like there's a lot of football. There's a lot of development. And there's going to be matches, but there's going to be where the pressure comes in for coaching is when do you have the relationships not only with players but with coaches that you're all on the same game plan, same mindset.